Hello, my name is Everett DePangher, and I am a delegate candidate in the Deep South region. So if you live in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, or if you're with me here in Arkansas, then you have a chance to vote for me in the upcoming delegate elections. A little bit of information about me. I am a family practice lawyer here in the Fayetteville area of Arkansas, northwest Arkansas. I have a solo practice. It is a pro-life practice. I have a policy of certainly not being involved in the killing of any unborn children, and when possible, I would try to assist an unborn child. It's also a practice that focuses on lower income people. So the practice has a policy of offering discounts to anyone who's below 250% of poverty, and there as well you'll see the pro-life aspect of the business come into play, because for those who don't know, percentage of poverty is computed in part from household size. And so my policy is to count an unborn child as a member of the household, and thus any either a pregnant woman or someone who lives with a pregnant woman would get a boost in the computation of their discount based on their percentage of poverty because of that unborn child. I also have a practice that's near the downtown area. So my personal habits, I try to follow the principles in the party of having a walkable city, and so I will walk from where I am to other places in the downtown area whenever possible. There's a recycle center nearby, and I'll walk my recyclables over there. And then when I can do errands, I'll try to walk them in the downtown area. And that's that is a great thing, to have things that are both close enough, but also accessible to pedestrians in a fairly orderly way. So I certainly appreciate that aspect of the party's principles. I am the Arkansas coordinator appointed by the national leadership until there is an actual state chapter formed here in Arkansas. I am at the coordinator until that time, and I have really appreciated the opportunity to do that. As far as my campaign platform for delegate, so far I have released 4 motions that I want to pursue if I'm elected delegate, and the full text of those is available. There will be links in my candidate written statement, and it's also on the official list of proposed motions, so you can take a look at those if you wish to do so. I'm just going to run through all 4 of them briefly here, but there's certainly detail that is best if you just look at it in the written motions themselves. But the first of them is that I want to change the party name from American Solidarity Party to Solidarity Party. Now, there's nothing wrong with the word American. We are Americans, but it's not a word that really distinguishes us. Everybody knows we're Americans. All of our competitors are Americans. So it doesn't really contribute to the branding. And it comes into play because sometimes economy of words can be really important. So for instance, the word Democrat is 8 characters long. The word Republican is 10 characters long. The phrase American solidarity is 19 characters long. And so in my view, that can have a negative impact when it comes to things like signage and URLs, where we want to have a more where we're trying to use as few characters as possible. And in fact, as many of us know, the National Party's website has already omitted the word American, and it is solidarity-party. So I do want that economy of space to be something that's available. There's nothing wrong with if the context is appropriate. If someone wants to say the phrase American Solidarity Party, that's still fine. It is the Solidarity Party that's American. So the use of that adjective in front of it is fine. It just would not be mandatory anymore. The second motion is to codify and to some extent expand the transparency practices within the National Committee. And that really falls into 3 sub areas. The first is providing for a public comment, a membership public comment period prior to the National Committee acting on anything. The second is the live broadcast of National Committee meetings to the membership, which did begin a few months ago, and I just want that to continue. And then the third is the timely release of minutes after a National Committee meeting, so that we're all up to date on what the most recent formal actions of the party are. The third motion is a revision of the preamble to the statement of principles. And here I will say I have a number of concerns with the current preamble. I see it as there's at a basic level, there are grammatical problems to it, but it runs deeper than that. It is very unclear, and a good portion of the reason for its lack of clarity is that it relies on technical language that I don't think is particularly well known to the American public. And one example of that is the phrase Christian democracy. Which is a phrase that comes from continental European politics that just does not translate into day-to-day American political vocabulary. It is not, the party is not Christian, the party is not democratic in either the contemporary partisan sense of the word or the classical political sense of the word. It is not those two things side by side, nor is it an attempt to integrate those two things. So it's not, we're not an organization that advocates for the disbanding of the College of Cardinals and the direct popular election of the Pope, for instance. So it's words that just do not work in in current American political discourse. And so we can have materials available about the historical connection between European Christian democracy and our party. That's fine. But when it comes to prominent placement in the preamble of our statement of principles, it's better to use more descriptive words, in my view. And that's nothing against the word Christian or the word democracy. It's just our first priority needs to be communication, and not just using historically interesting technical language that doesn't translate outside of the circles of people who are familiar with it. The fourth motion is an attempt to shift our focus as a party toward more winnable elections. Currently, there is a fair amount of emphasis within the party on state and federal elections, which is fine up to a point, but that's a small minority of elections. We should certainly continue to contest presidential elections, and there's that the presidential election is exempt under the motion from the switch in focus. But as for Congress, as for other state elections, the reality is that if we look to the Libertarian Party, it has been running tons and tons of candidates for those offices for, 40 years or so now, and are largely losing. And so we can go in there, we can get our 1%, our 2%, maybe our 3% share of the vote in those elections, and we can do that over and over. But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves the question of, to what end would we be doing that? So I want to focus more on municipal elections, school boards, city councils, other more specialized elections, and those particularly can present a good opportunity for members. If you're an accountant, you can run for your local treasurer. If you're a deputy sheriff, you can run for sheriff. If you're a medical doctor, you can run for coroner. And by doing this, I think we put wins on the board. And I think that we will gain credibility as a party the more we fill up that page on our website of elected officials in the party. We need to grow that page of the website. I think that is a fantastic way for us to then have momentum to expand the rest of the party. So that, in short, are the four motions that I have released so far. I would encourage you to look at the text of those. And if you have any questions for me, certainly feel free to contact me directly. And I would ask for your consideration in ranking me fairly highly on your ballot when we vote in the delegate elections. Thank you very much.